So in today's Dokkan Battle video, I'm basically going to be doing an SSR Analysis revamp for the Super Saiyan 2s, and if you haven't seen that video already, I will leave it linked at the end and most likely in the comment section and description as always. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a great day, and if you do enjoy today's video, consider leaving a like and subscribing if you are new. And for this video in particular, I am going to be leaving 2 units out, and one of the reasons why is because the physical Super Saiyan GT Goku has not received a rebirth yet, and to be honest, I am most likely going to save him for a different video. And then of course you have the physical Super Saiyan 2 Goku from the barbershop who Dokkaned into a Super Saiyan 3, so it's like I kind of have to exclude him in that sense. So we're going to be taking a look at 4 of the rebirths today, and I hope you guys do enjoy this little change to the SSR Analysis videos. And I did mention this before when I initially recorded that Super Saiyan 2 Goku video, that I was going to come back to it eventually when every single Super Saiyan 2 receives a rebirth. Unfortunately, some of them Dokkaned in other ways, some of them haven't, and to be fair, I would rather save the GT counterpart for a different video, but I hope you guys do enjoy this nonetheless, and just a return to what basically helps build my channel. So let's go ahead and get started with the Tech Super Saiyan 2 Goku, and his leader skill gives a 50% HP and attack boost to Tech and STR types. So in the current meta that we are in, this is a somewhat decent leader skill, especially when you have 2, but the majority of the time, you're not going to find another Tech Super Saiyan 2 Goku friend or a guest. But if you don't have any good leads, it is a decent replacement just because he does give a sizable health and attack boost, and this is comparable to Masked Saiyan, who gives a 50% stat boost, but he doesn't give ki, so you may have to kind of rely on support units and the guests that you use. But for the most part, it definitely is a good leader skill if you don't have any other good units. But because Bandai has been generous, well, I would say they have been somewhat generous with the blue and red stones. Of course, the blue stone you do have to purchase at least once, so you'll most likely have a godly by now if you did get that blue stone, and that is one of the things that I do like about these anniversaries that they put out. They are at least giving you a certain lead to get started, but if you started at the wrong time, a unit like Goku could definitely be a decent replacement if you are in need of a lead for a certain team, specifically Tech. I mean, he does give that stat boost or the HP and attack boost to STR types as well, but it wouldn't necessarily work that well. But one of the more interesting things about this card is by far the fact that he causes immense damage, and this was extremely surprising, especially for a rebirth. I believe that he is currently the only rebirth with immense damage. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong. I know that Gohan went from having supreme damage to immense, but keep in mind that that was a Dokkan Awakening and not a rebirth. Rebirths have the Shattering the Limit link, whereas Dokkan Awakenings have the Fierce Battle link. And this guy also has a fairly decent 12 key multiplier of 140%. So one of the things that I've always been curious is how hard this guy would hit when he is at Super Attack 10. Because the thing about Immense is that for the first 5 Super Attack levels, you don't really see that immense damage modifier coming through. But once you get to around 6 and above, that is when that, immense damage modifier starts to really show. And if you have him at Super Attack 10, definitely let me know how he performs, especially on a Tech Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks team, or Tech Super Saiyan 3 Goku rather. Even on a Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks lead, I would imagine that he is still pretty solid. So moving on to his passive skill, and this is definitely one of the things that made him very good back when Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks was out. He gives free ki to Tech and STR types, and one of the reasons why this was good is because back then, Tech teams were kind of all over the place. If you didn't have certain units, you kind of had to make up for certain slots with units like Goku, and the fact that he gave that free ki to Tech and STR types definitely made a massive difference. For example, the majority of the time, you're going to run Tech Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks and then another unit next to him, like Vegito maybe, and then in the next rotation, you'd have LR Goku and Bardock, who was one of the best partnerships in the game at the time, and they are still one of the best partnerships in the game, but some people prefer to run other units instead of them just because you have to sacrifice a Super Saiyan 3 Goku to use them. But the point is, this guy was still pretty solid back then. He was great for the World Tournament because of how much key support he provided. But now we've kind of gone back to the Stone Ages, and we've just gone back to Broly, and it's kind of easy to find a friend now just because a lot of people pulled him because he was featured, so that was kind of lucky. But moving on to his link skills, he has Golden Warrior, Saiyan Warrior Race, Super Saiyan, Kamehameha, Infighter, Prepared for Battle, and Shattering the Limit. So his link set is very good, but it's kind of irrelevant. And one of the reasons why it is irrelevant is because of his passive skill. He gives that free ki to Tech and STR types, and you're, like I said before, you're 100% of the time, okay, 99% maybe, that 1% you may run him on an STR team, but the majority of the time you're going to be running this guy on a Tech team, so his link skills wouldn't exactly be a problem if they were bad, but they are actually very good. He has Super Saiyan, which is a very good attack link, he has Kamehameha, he has Prepared for Battle, Shattering the Limit is okay on a Tech team, depends on the units that you want to use, Golden Warrior, Saiyan Warrior Rays, just a great link set overall. That, like I said, it doesn't matter too much because of how much his passive provides anyway. The only thing that this passive skill is missing is definitely an attack boost, and that is what the majority of support units are getting today. And if he got a rebirth today, he definitely would have had an attack boost instead of giving that free key. To be fair, he still probably would have given that free key, but he would have given an attack boost at the same time, or maybe they would have gone with 2 key instead and just given him the attack boost. So they could have played around with it. But then you take a look at support units like Tien, and they are just like way beyond what support units used to be. So I suppose it kind of makes sense. They have definitely evolved support units to become a bit more relevant, which I like, because support units before were kind of frowned upon, even though they were some of the best units in the game. But overall, great card. Unfortunately, he has fallen off since the introduction of, Super Saiyan 3 Goku and such. And the release of Tien has kind of made him less relevant, but he is still a good unit nonetheless. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see how he compares to the others. So now we have the Tech Super Saiyan 2 Angel Goku, so a bit of a difference there, but his leader skill gives 3 key as well as a 70% HP and defensive boost, 2 tech and physical types. So it's very similar to the previous leader skill. The only difference is that he does not give an attack boost, but he does give key instead. So I would say that it's a slightly better leader skill, especially for tech types, just because of the higher stat boost. And I've said this before, the most important thing about that stats boost is by far the health and attack increase. The defense increase is becoming a bit more relevant now just because of the ability system and how high defensive stats can get. So as long as you can survive, it's okay, but if you can't deal damage in return, it may be a bit of a problem. But keep in mind that if you're going to use a Tech Super Saiyan 3 Goku lead, you're going to get a 120% attack boost anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. So very good leader skill actually, and I would love to play around with it, but unfortunately I don't believe I have this guy over on JP. But moving on to his super attack, he causes supreme damage to the enemy. Super Kamehameha, so generic. Super attack, unfortunately, he has a 12 key multiplier of 135%, so a bit lower than the previous Goku. It's still good. I would definitely say that this is the bare minimum, but he does have other things that make up for this 12 key multiplier. His passive skill gives him 5 key and a 12,000 attack boost as the third attacker in a turn. So to be fair, this is actually very good, and one of the reasons why is because in an optimal team, you're going to be putting him in that third slot anyway, so you don't exactly have to prioritize the other ones. Because think about it this way, your rotations, I'm going to talk about rotations a lot by the way, your rotations are most likely going to be Super Saiyan 3 Goku, Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, and then LR Bardock, I keep saying LR Bardock, LR Goku and Super Saiyan Bardock. Low-key, LR Bardock may happen one day. So in that third slot, this guy is going to fit perfectly in there, especially because of how his passive works. So it's like this guy was legit made for that third slot. This guy's going to come in like every 3 turns and just be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do a small amount of damage and then just leave. But it's an interesting passive, which I appreciate because they at least try to be different. Unfortunately, he does have a flat-out attack boost, which I've said before, isn't necessarily the greatest. However, when it is high enough, like LR Broly and of course Mask Saiyan, it doesn't really matter too much. And of course, when you take into account the ability system, the 12,000 is kind of low in comparison to some of the other units, which is why people don't tend to use this guy as much. But he does have a decent link set as well. He has Golden Warrior, Super Saiyan, Kamehameha, Saiyan Warrior Race, Prepared for Battle, and one of the things that I said earlier was how certain aspects of his card made up for this. It's the fact that he does have the Fierce Battle link, which provides him and other units with a 15% attack boost, which is good, don't get me wrong, but I feel like if he got a percentage like passive instead of a flat-out attack boost, he would definitely be a bit more usable. But let's say you have like an almost optimal team and you have this guy, I would definitely use him just because of how well he works in that third slot, and he would definitely be a fun unit to play around with, especially when it comes to his leader skill. But overall, definitely a fun card. I feel like he kind of got shafted. He is just destined to be in that third slot, unfortunately. But still a decent card nonetheless. He has that Prepare for Battle link, so he is going to fit relatively well on that monotech team, but it doesn't really matter because he is already self-sufficient. So moving on to the physical Super Saiyan 2 Goku, and in comparison to some of the leader skills, some people may see it as better because it gives a stat boost to, all the stats, but it's not as sizable and he doesn't give key either, so I would still prefer the other ones just because of how much high the boost is. And if you wanted to run a leader skill like this, you could just run Arale, because she does give a 30% stat boost anyway, but it's to all types, and she gives Ki if I'm not mistaken, so it's a better leader skill. It's decent, but it's nothing too crazy in comparison to the others. His super attack causes supreme damage, and he has a 12 Ki multiplier of 140%, so this is on par with the first Goku that we had a look at. He doesn't cause immense damage, so he is most likely not going to hit as hard as that Goku. Now keep in mind that the majority of these Gokus are going to be support units, so they aren't made to hit hard. But because the first one does have immense damage, he is definitely going to be hitting a bit harder than normal support units. But his passive skill gives 2 Ki and a 20% attack boost to all allies. And one of the reasons why this guy has actually stayed relevant is because of that attack boost, and because he gives that Ki, of course. You could argue that there are better options in maybe Super Saiyan Rage Trunks, just because he does give that additional attack boost with a super attack mechanic, but the majority of the time you're not going to get that to go off. But the thing about Trunks is that he does give a defensive boost as well, so it comes down to what you prefer, to be honest. You also have other great support units like Pan, so it comes down to what you have in your box, but I definitely feel like he has aged extremely well, and the fact that he does give that attack boost is definitely one of the things that have kept him relevant, like I said before. One of the things that could have helped this cut out a bit more is the Fierce Battle link, but unfortunately he got the Shattering the Limit link instead, which, like I said before, is the Rebirth link, but he still has a decent link set nonetheless. He has Golden Warrior, Saiyan Warrior Ray, Super Saiyan, Kamehameha, Prepares for Battle, and Shattering the Limit, so again, he is going to fit very well on that physical team. So pretty much every single unit so far can fit on their respective teams. They have aspects about them that still allow them to fit on their respective teams. They may not be the go-to units for some people, but keep in mind that it comes down to what you have in your box in the end. I would personally run him because my physical types are kind of all over the place. I do have several very good ones, but I would rather run a support unit like Goku over a unit that is at Super Attack 1 and just won't hit that hard. And like I said for the others, he is still a fairly good unit, and he has aged very well. So now, moving on to the next Super Saiyan 2 Goku, and of course, it is the Agility type. His leader skill gives a 30% HP and attack boost to Agility, Tech, and STR types. So we have 3 different types there, and this is probably the worst leader skill of the bunch. Still decent because he does give that stat boost, of course, but nothing crazy in comparison to the others. He causes supreme damage to the enemy, and he raises his own attack for 3 turns, so definitely different from the previous guys. His 12 Ki multiplier is 130%, so the worst of the bunch. But again, keep in mind that these units aren't supposed to be hitting hard, but you would expect it to be a bit higher because of that super attack mechanic, because you can tell that they kind of tried to make him somewhat of an offensive unit, but kind of failed in a way. His passive skill gives 3 Ki to all allies when HP is 99% or below, and it's kind of annoying that he still does have that restriction on his passive, but if you're too bothered by it, honestly, it's super easy to get this to activate every single time he is out. And because the agility type group does not have that agility type character for that specific group, I would definitely say that he is viable, but keep in mind that you still have units like Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and the Bardock, so again, it comes down to what you personally have in your box. But this restriction is incredibly easy to maintain, especially because of how much tanking the agility type group has. But moving on to his links, he has Golden Warrior, Saiyan Warrior Ray, Super Saiyan, Kamehameha, Family Ties, Shattering the Limit. So pretty standard link set, very similar to the previous ones, of course, so it doesn't make too much of a difference again because of what his passive skill provides. But I will say that his super attack mechanic is interesting. I don't know if that is a 50% increase like the Kaioken mechanic, but he could potentially hit harder than the previous ones. But he doesn't give an attack boost like the physical type, but he does give 3 Ki like the tech type, but the tech type doesn't give the Ki to all types, just the tech and STR. But for the most part, they are definitely all incredible units, but there must be a winner, and some of you may be familiar with this. We are going to move on to the final part of the video. So I am going to start with the #1 spot, and honestly, in my opinion, he is just way more relevant on his respective team just because of that attack boost. I definitely feel like that attack boost makes a massive difference. So of course, we have the physical Super Saiyan 2 Goku in the first slot. To be honest, the next few slots just comes down to what you need and what you personally have. The Tech Super Saiyan 2 Goku and the Agility Super Saiyan 2 Goku are extremely similar. The Tech one is most likely going to hit hard because of that immense damage modifier, so he does win in that sense, and he also gives us a 3 Ki like the Agility type. Granted, the Agility type is for all types, but the majority of the time you're going to be running them on their respective teams anyway, so I'm not going to look outside of that. So in second place, I am going to put the Tech type. In third place, I'm going to put the Agility type. And in the last slot, I am going to put the Tech Super Saiyan 2 to Angel Goku, but again keep in mind that this may vary depending on what you have in your box. But in terms of usefulness and how relevant they are in the current teams, these last 3 units honestly do not compare to the physical type. But as always, definitely let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm definitely curious to hear if you guys agree with me, if you disagree with me. But as always, I hope you guys did enjoy today's video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you all in the next one.